Good afternoon. My name is Donald Kinchin, and for my final project, my topic would be why are you coaching? Is it your calling or your job? So, the person that I interviewed name is Freezy Smalls. He's from California. He played baseball at Oklahoma Panhandle State University. While finishing graduating, he had the opportunity to go on and play professional baseball in New Mexico. He played for some minor league teams before getting into coaching. His first he first started coaching in North Carolina at schools named Jack Britt High School and Pinecrest High School. He was the inside linebackers coach and a special education teacher. After coaching there, he got involved around COVID at Nelson University, where he met Ryan Smith. Ryan Smith and Chase Paramore are the two gentlemen that introduced me to Freezer Smalls and told me I should interview him because he had a great story to tell. After coaching at Nelson University, he received a job at St. Andrews University in North Carolina, where he was the defensive coordinator, inside linebackers coach, EFO, and assistant head coach. He was there for a year and a half before family problems caused him to move back to Texas. Now, Freezy Smalls is the Grapevine High School defensive coordinator and inside linebackers coach. Challenges in his deep dive. So, getting ready to do my interview, Ryan Smith, who was a friend of Chase Jenkins, told me about Freezy Small that he has an amazing story to tell. And the hardest thing about the challenging thing about the whole project was getting in contact, getting his Freezy contact information, getting in contact with him. The second challenge was like family time. How does he manage his time for his daughter with such activities that she's a part of, such as softball, MMA that she does, and she also plays basketball. Third challenge that I want to learn about was like, what did he learn in all his years of coaching? So my project, I have a list of questions. My first question was motivation and passion. Why did you decide to become a coach in the first place? And what kept you going through the most difficult times? I asked him, do you think God gave you this calling? Second question was, how did he measure success? What did he do when the team consistently underperformed? How do you balance the pressure to win with the development of players? I also asked him to tell me about a time when he had to make a tough decision that was unpopular with staff and administration. Then also asked him, as a coach, how do you handle criticism from the media, fans, and parents? Also questions that I asked. I also asked him, how did he maintain a work-life balance and separate his identity from his team results? What is the most challenging player staff conflict he ever had to resolve? How did he approach the situation? What was the results? I asked him about the time he lost a recruit and what did he learn from the experience? What was the time that he had to change up a strategy that failed? And what did he do when it went wrong? And how did he use that as a learning opportunity to improve? I also asked him to describe a situation where he had to adjust his coaching style mid-season to accommodate injuries, player issues, or losing streaks. So I asked him, in what ways has his profession changed since he started? How has he been able to adapt with new methods to stay current? Was there any career setbacks that he faced that he later realized was an advantage? And what is one piece of advice that he could go back and give to his younger self? First started coaching, and as a head coaching, what is the most important thing he's hoped that his players learn from him beyond just sports? Interview questions. So I decided to choose the three most important questions that I felt like made a difference. And I learned from him was I asked him motivation and passion, like why did he decide to become a coach in the first place? Like what kept him going through the most difficult times? Did he think God gave him this calling? And once I asked him this question, he gave me an honest answer. He said, honestly, he just started coaching just because he didn't have anything else going for himself. He said he was a lost sheep, and he said, I thank God. He said God guided him as a shepherd, and he guided him towards football and being a coach, calling and building young men. And now that he said this is his greatest pride next to raising his daughter. So even though it didn't start out as being him being felt like God called him, or he was being led by God, he towards the end, in the beginning of his journey, he learned that God was calling him and guiding him. The second question I asked, how did he measure success and what did he do when the team consistently underperformed? How did he balance the pressure to win with the development of the players? He said success for him is measured by if our kids are having fun doing the things they're doing. He said they are still growing in the game of football currently. He said right now, his current situation, they're 1-5. He said this has been very tough. It's been a very tough season, but our kids are having fun. Being at practice, continue to grow with us. Having open and honest talks with players has helped to alleviate stress, pressure for when the moments get too big. And some moments have been very big this year. I felt like this is a very impactful answer because I have been a part of programs and I wasn't getting the results that I felt like we should be receiving. I felt oftentimes that I wasn't winning on the scoreboard, but I was winning in the players' lives, making an impact on their lives and helping them go closer to God in their faith and just as young men. Question number three, another question I asked was what is one piece of advice that you wish you can give to your younger self when you first started as a head coach? And the question was, he said, take advice. You don't know it all. He said, a big piece of advice will also be, a big piece of advice will also be that being a head coach is no fun. Sometimes he said, we are so eager as people and men want to be the head guy, be the head coach and be in charge. And he said, once you're in that position, you start to realize that the head coach does more, does less coaching and more fundraising, more, a lot more that's seen on a daily basis besides just coaching football, coaching the sport. The reason I chose these three questions because in my profession as a coach, I often wondered in times like, how do you deal with the pressure and the communication with your players and your staff members? How do you want to be successful? The skills I learned emotional relatability, communication skills, and active listening. Emotional relatability. An activity I did was asking my players like, what are their goals in life, and what do they find? What do they find their identity? So when I ask these questions, this has let me take a deeper look into my players' lives. When they wrote down their goals, like what do they want to be outside of sports, like family-wise? You know, some of them want to be great husbands, fathers, and teachers. And I also shared my testimony with them, and now we're able to relate on a more difficult, on a more deeper level, which is very important. And it helped me grow closer to them and my staff members as well. Communication skills, changing up my delivery of messages to my players and staff members. When doing my interview with Freezy, he taught me, he said that sometimes you don't have to yell and be angry at kids to get your point across. He said sometimes just being silent is more impactful than yelling. And I have been a witness to this, and I tried this just in a week. We have a meeting, and instead of telling the guys to be quiet or hush, I would just sit there in silence, and instantly the talking they were doing would immediately stop. Um, Also being just stern when I want players to listen up, just saying, just hush or just, hey, straighten up, and players will fall in line. And also just being kind with words, learning that it's not what you say all the time, it's how you say it has an impact. Another skill I learned was active listening, listening to players' problems or difficulties they're facing and how we can improve. And don't be quick to yell. I'm learning that I can't show facial expressions or listen to understand their problems. Don't listen to respond. As many times as coaches, as men, sometimes we listen just to respond or rebuttal and not truly seek to understand the other person. And that's one of the biggest things that this class has taught me. It's about being a leader. It's not always about dictating and giving directions. Sometimes it's listening and finding a collective solution. In my conclusion, I find that being open and vulnerable with my players and staff led to a deeper connection